The rain hammered the windshield like fists of regret as I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white against the fading light of a Seattle evening. I can't do this anymore. Alex. Matthew's voice cracked over the phone, each word slicing deeper than the screech of tires I'd heard in my nightmares 100 times. In that instant, the world tilted, tires hydroplaned on the slick I-5 asphalt, and I slammed into the guardrail, the crash echoing the shatter of my heart as his final words hung in the air. "You're not the man I fell in love with." I woke up in Harborview Medical Center 3 days later, the sterile beep of monitors my only welcome. My left leg ended at the knee, a bandaged stump wrapped in white gauze that smelled faintly of antiseptic and finality. The doctors murmured about prosthetics and rehab, their voices blurring into white noise, but it was the empty chair beside my bed that gutted me. Matthew hadn't come. No flowers, no texts, just a single voicemail I'd listened to on loop. "I need space. Alex. This changes everything, changes everything." As if the man who'd promised forever could rewrite our vows because my body no longer matched the Instagram perfect version he'd swiped right on 3 years ago. We'd met at a dive bar in Capitol Hill, the kind with sticky floors and craft IPAs that tasted like hipster regret. I was 25, a freelance graphic designer hustling gigs for local bands, my life a whirlwind of late nights and loft parties in the shadow of the Space Needle. Matthew was the golden boy, 30, a rising tech exec at Amazon, with that effortless charm that made you believe in soulmates. His laugh lit up rooms, his touch electric against my skin during our first fumbling hookup in the bar's bathroom. "You're trouble," he'd whispered, nipping at my earlobe, and I grinned like an idiot, already hooked. Our first real date was at Pike Place Market, under a sky-threatening rain that never quite fell. He bought me a bouquet of wildflowers from the stalls, their petals soft as his promises. "I want this," he said, pulling me close amid the fishmonger's shouts and the salty tang of the sound. "You and me, against the world." We built a life in his sleek Belltown condo, all exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. Mornings blurred into coffee runs and lazy Sundays tangled in sheets, his fingers tracing the lines of my tattoos like he was memorizing a map to my soul. Sex was fire, raw, urgent, the kind that left bruises you wore like badges. He'd pin me down, breath hot against my neck, murmuring, "God, Alex, you're everything." I believed him. Hell, I lived for it. But cracks formed early, subtle as Seattle's perpetual drizzle. Matthew's job swallowed him. Endless meetings, stock options that padded his bank account but hollowed his eyes. I catch him scrolling Grindr late at night, dismissing it as just browsing when I'd call him out. "It's nothing, babe. You're the one I come home to." Insecurities gnawed at me, but I shoved them down, chalking it up to the grind of queer life in a city where everyone was beautiful and broken. We fought over small things, his canceled plans, my flaky artist schedule. Makeup sex patched the wounds, but they scarred deeper each time. The accident happened 6 months into that slow unraveling. I'd been driving back from a client meeting in Tacoma, the radio blasting some indie playlist Matthew hated. My phone buzzed, his name on the screen. I glanced down, just for a second, to see his text, "Miss you." Dinner tonight? The road curved, rain sheeting the glass, and then impact. Metal twisted, glass exploded, and pain bloomed like a grenade in my chest. My leg. Sirens wailed in the distance as darkness claimed me, Matthew's unread reply glowing phantom-like in my mind. Rehab was a blur of sweat and screams in the PT gym, mirrors reflecting a stranger with hollow cheeks and a gait like a sailor's on shore leave. They fitted me with a prosthetic, a sleek carbon fiber blade that clicked against the linoleum like a metronome counting my losses. Friends rallied. My best pal Jamie smuggled in craft beers, his hugs fierce and unspoken. "You're still you, asshole," he'd say, but his eyes darted to the stump, pity flickering like a bad signal. Matthew visited once, 2 weeks in. He stood in the doorway, suit rumpled, tie askew, looking like he'd aged a decade. "Hey," he said, voice small. I forced a smile, propped up in bed with the remote clutched like a lifeline. We talked weather, work, anything but the elephant with one leg in the room. Then he sat on the edge of the mattress, took my hand. His palm was clammy, foreign. "Alex, I love you. But this," he gestured vaguely at the bed, "and me. It's a lot. I'm scared." The word landed like a slap. "Scared of what?" I whispered, my throat raw from disuse. "Of losing you? Of this?" I yanked back the sheet, exposing the bandaged end of my leg. His face crumpled, eyes squeezing shut. "I don't know if I can handle it. The stairs, the appointments, you. Different. There it was, the truth we danced around. I wasn't his flawless boyfriend anymore. I was a project, a burden. He left with a kiss on my forehead, promising to call. He didn't. Discharge day came like a sentence. Jamie picked me up, my duffel slung over his shoulder, the prosthetic strapped on like armor I didn't want. Back in my tiny Fremont apartment, rent skyrocketing, sublets a joke. I stared at the walls lined with our photos. Matthew and me at Pride, rainbow flags whipping in the wind, road tripping the Oregon coast, his head on my shoulder as waves crashed. I deleted the voicemail, but the echo lingered. Nights were the worst. Pain flared in the ghost of my limb, sharper than heartbreak. I'd hobble to the kitchen for painkillers, the fridge humming like judgment. Grinder pinged occasionally, hookups from pity swipers, their profiles screaming no drama, just fun. I ghosted them all. What was the point? My body was a battlefield, scars mapping defeats no one wanted to navigate. One evening, 3 months post-crash, I dragged myself to a support group at the LGBTQ Center in Capitol Hill. Not my scene, circle jerks of vulnerability, but Jamie insisted. "You need people who get it," he said, shoving me out the door. The room smelled of stale coffee and hope, folding chairs arranged in a ragged semicircle. About a dozen of us, vets with PTSD, trans folks mid-transition, cancer survivors with ink-black humor. And then there was Daniel. He sat across from me, early 30s, with a mop of curly brown hair and eyes like smoked quartz, deep, unreadable. His smile was quiet, the kind that snuck up on you. "Hi, I'm Daniel," he said during intros, voice steady as Puget Sound on a calm day. "Lost my husband to AIDS in '09. Still figuring out how to live without the ghost. No dramatics, just fact." The group nodded, murmurs of solidarity rippling out. When my turn came, I mumbled about the accident, the amputation, Matthew's vanishing act. "Feels like I'm half a person now," I admitted, heat rising in my cheeks. Daniel's gaze held mine, not pitying, just present. "Half a person," he echoed softly. Or twice the fighter? After, as we milled around the snack table, stale cookies and herbal tea, he sidled up. Alex, right? That blade looks badass. Like something out of a cyberpunk novel. I laughed. Surprised, first real one in weeks. Yeah? Most people just stare. He shrugged, grabbing a cookie. Most people are assholes. Wanna grab a real coffee? There's a spot down the block that does killer lattes, no judgment. All foam. I hesitated, the prosthetic suddenly heavy. But his eyes crinkled at the corners, warm as a hearth, and I nodded. The cafe was a hole-in-the-wall called Brewed Awakening. Fairy lights strung over mismatched tables, the air thick with espresso and indie folk. We talked for hours, him about Seattle's queerness in the 90s, ACT UP marches and underground clubs. Me about designing album covers for drag queens, the thrill of creation amid chaos. He didn't pry about the leg, but when I shifted uncomfortably, he just said, "Tell me if you need to bail." No pressure. It wasn't a date, or so I told myself. But when he walked me to my bus stop, the drizzle picking up, he pulled an umbrella from his messenger bag. "Chivalry's not dead," he quipped, holding it over us both. Our shoulders brushed, a spark jumping despite the chill. At the door, he hugged me, firm, unhurried. "This was good, Alex. See you next week." I nodded, breathless. As the bus pulled away, Seattle's lights blurring, I realized I hadn't thought of Matthew once. Daniel became a fixture, not just at group but in the cracks of my days. We'd text memes at 2 a.m., him sending clips of RuPaul's Drag Race roasts, me firing back sketches of absurd superheroes with missing limbs. Captain Stump, I'd caption one, a buff dude leaping buildings on a pogo stick prosthetic. He'd reply with laughing emojis and, "You're a genius." Dinner sometime? My treat, no umbrellas required. Our first official date was at a food truck pod in South Lake Union, the air buzzing with sizzle and chatter. He showed up in faded Levi's and a flannel that hugged his broad shoulders, looking like he'd stepped out of a Patagonia ad. We split tacos al pastor, grease dripping onto napkins as we swapped stories. Daniel was a high school English teacher in Ballard, the kind who quoted Whitman to hormonal teens and snuck poetry into lesson plans. "Kids these days," he said, wiping salsa from his chin, "they think love's a swipe." I tell him it's messy, like sonnets in the rain. I opened up about Matthew that night, the words tumbling out over churros dusted with cinnamon. He bailed because, well, look at me. I gestured to the prosthetic, hidden under jeans but ever present. Daniel's fork paused midair, his gaze steady. "Matthew sounds like a coward. Love isn't a photo shoot, Alex. It's showing up when the lights dim." He reached across the table, thumb brushing my knuckles. Simple, seismic. We kissed on the ferry to Bainbridge Island a week later, the Salish Sea chopping gray below us as gulls wheeled overhead. His lips were soft, tasting of salt and certainty, his hand cupping my jaw like I was porcelain worth preserving. No rush, no conquest, just us, swaying with the decks roll. Back on the mainland, in his cozy Queen and Victorian, bookshelves groaning under tomes, a cat named Orwell weaving between our ankles, we tumbled into bed. It was tentative at first, my insecurities a third wheel. "Is this okay?" I murmured, hesitating as I unbuttoned my shirt, scars pebbling my skin from shrapnel. Daniel pulled back, eyes searching mine. "More than okay." You're beautiful, Alex. All of you. He mapped me slowly, kisses trailing over freckles and faded bruises, his fingers ghosting the edge of the socket where flesh met carbon. When I tensed, he whispered, "Breathe with me," and we did, rhythms syncing like a shared pulse. It wasn't fireworks. It was hearthfire, warm, enduring. Afterward, curled against his chest, his heartbeat a lullaby, I felt something shift. Not whole, not yet, but less fractured. Fall deepened, leaves carpeting Fremont streets in crimson and gold. Daniel folded into my routine. Morning runs, me on the blade. Him jogging easy. Afternoons grading papers while I sketched at his kitchen table. He cooked like a poet, risotto with wild mushrooms, paired with cheap Pinot from the co-op. We'd argue over movies, him championing old noirs, me pushing for queer indies like Moonlight, then make up on the couch, his laughter rumbling through me. But Matthew's shadow lingered, a specter in quiet moments. One night, post-group, I got a text, "Saw your Insta. Who's the silver fox? Miss you." My stomach nodded. I'd posted a blurry shot of Daniel and me at Gasworks Park, kites dotting the sky like escaped dreams. I showed Daniel, expecting jealousy. Instead, he sighed, pulling me onto his lap. "He hurt you bad. But that's his regret, not yours." We made love that night fierce, reclaiming space, but doubt seeded. The group noticed the thaw in me. "You're glowing," Jamie teased, elbowing me during coffee break. Daniel shared more too, his marriage to Elias, a fiery activist who'd burned bright and out too soon. "He taught me rage against the dying light," Daniel said one evening, voice thick as we walked Alki Beach, waves lapping like confessions. "But you remind me joy's possible after." I squeezed his hand, the prosthetics click syncing with our steps. For the first time, I believed it. Holiday lights twinkled early in Seattle, a defiant glow against encroaching dark. Daniel invited me to his family's Thanksgiving, adopted kin, a chosen family of misfits in a sprawling Ravenna home. His Aunt Rosa, a Latina dyke with a chef's knife scar across her palm, roasted turkey with abuela's adobo. Cousins ribbed Daniel about his new beau, and I blushed, passing mashed potatoes, feeling seen. No stares at my limp, just toasts to survival. That night, snow flurrying rare and soft, we drove to Cary Park for the city view, Space Needle aglow, ferries tracing light paths on the bay. Daniel parked, engine ticking cool. "Alex," he said, turning to me, breath fogging the glass. "I know it's soon, but I love you. Not despite the scars. Because of them. They make you real." Tears pricked, hot and unbidden. I kissed him, salty and sure. "I love you too," I whispered, the words a bridge over abyss. But bridges burn. December brought Matthew's ambush. I'd been at the studio, tweaking a logo for a queer bookstore, when my phone rang, unknown number, but his voice unmistakable. "Alex, please." "Coffee?" I fucked up, against better judgment. I met him at our old spot, the market's bustle a cacophony masking my pulse. He looked wrecked, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes red-rimmed. "Seeing you happy kills me." I was scared, of losing the life we had. "We," echoed, bitterness sharp. "You checked out when I needed you most." He reached for my hand. I pulled back. Give me another shot. Therapy. Whatever. I can love you now. Now. As if my brokenness had a shelf life. Rage boiled, but underneath, a treacherous ache. What if I didn't tell Daniel that night, curling into him with lies of a long day? Guilt gnawed, but so did temptation. Matthew's promise of the familiar, the unscarred past. Christmas Eve dawned crisp. Evergreens frosted along the waterfront. Daniel and I strung lights on his tree, ornaments tinkling like fragile oaths, Elias's old Star of David bauble catching the glow. Traditions keep us tethered, he said, kissing my temple. I nodded, but Matthew's text burned in my pocket. One more chance? NYE at my place. The pull was magnetic, a riptide to the safety of shore. Group that week was raw. A new guy, fresh from a breakup, vented about gaslighting. I nodded along, but my mind replayed Matthew's plea. Daniel caught my drift after over foe at a hole-in-wall on Broadway. You're quiet. Spill. I deflected, but his eyes narrowed. Is it him? The question hung, heavy as fog. I confessed in fragments, the coffee, the if-onlys. Daniel's face didn't crumple. It hardened, just a flicker. You deserve better than a rebound from regret. But choose yourself, Alex. Always. NYE loomed like a guillotine. I ghosted Matthew, deleted the thread, but the what-ifs festered. Instead, Daniel and I hit a queer club in Pioneer Square, thumping bass, bodies glittering under strobes. He danced with abandon, pulling me close, hips sinking to the beat. Sweat slick, euphoric, I forgot. Midnight confetti rained. We kissed amid cheers, auld lang syne a vow unspoken. January bit hard, rain relentless. My freelance drying up as clients ghosted for AI tools. Bills piled. The prosthetics maintenance a luxury I couldn't afford. Daniel noticed the strain, slipping cash into my wallet for Orwell's kibble. Pride stung. I pushed back. I'm not your charity case. He cupped my face. You're my partner. Let me carry some weight. Vulnerability warred with walls, but his steadiness eroded them. Spring teased with crocuses in Discovery Park, but conflict brewed. Matthew escalated. Flowers at my door, tagged on socials with cryptic "miss the old us." Jamie warned, block his ass, but curiosity clawed. One afternoon, post-PT where sweat masked tears, caved. Lunch at a Soto cafe, industrial chic masking the rot. I've changed, Matthew insisted, leaning in, cologne familiar as betrayal. Therapy. I see now your strength. It's hot, hot. Objectified again, my scars a kink to reclaim. I left fuming, but the seed took. That night, Daniel sensed the shift, my distraction over takeout pad thai. Talk to me. Lies crumbled. I admitted the lunch. His silence stretched. Painful. Why? He asked, voice even. To feel wanted? Shame burned. He makes me feel whole, like before. Daniel recoiled, eyes flashing hurt. And I make you feel what? Pitted. No. But the words lodged. We argued, voices rising, accusations flying. You're holding on to a ghost, he shouted. I'm offering life. I stormed out, prosthetic pounding pavement to the bus, rain soaking regret. Days blurred into radio silence. Group felt like exile. Daniel absent, his chair a void. I drowned in sketches, dark, jagged lines mirroring my head. Matthew pounced. Texts a deluge. See, we're better. Dinner at his condo. The space a museum of us. Photos untouched. Bed still queen-sized. Wine flowed. Nostalgia a drug. His touch reignited old fires. Urgent against the kitchen counter. This is us, he murmured, hands roaming familiar paths. But as he skirted the prosthetic, fingers hesitating at the hem, revulsion surged. I pushed away. You still can't. His face twisted, defensive, then cruel. Maybe you're right. Maybe I can't fuck a cripple without pity. The word landed like shrapnel. I fled, hailing a cab in the downpour, sobs choking as the city blurred. Home was empty, mirrors mocking. I called Daniel at 3 a.m. Voicemail my confessor. I fucked up. He's poison. You're everything. He showed at dawn. Rain-damp hair, eyes shadowed but open. No lectures, just arms enveloping, pulling me to the couch. We all stumble, he whispered, tracing my jaw. But you came back. Forgiveness tasted like grace, his kiss absolution. We talked till light crept in, fears bared, boundaries redrawn. No more ghosts, I vowed. He nodded, fierce. Just us. Summer hummed in, markets bursting with berries, pride a riot of color. Daniel and I marched, his hand in mine, my blade gleaming under rainbows. But scars ran deep, trust a fragile rebuild. One night, post-gallery opening, my designs on walls, acclaim buzzing, he proposed a trip. Olympic Peninsula. Cabins, hikes, no signals, escape beckoned. We drove the winding 101, evergreens arching like cathedrals, rain forest mist-shrouded. The cabin was rustic, wood stove crackling, loft bed overlooking ferns. Days blurred, trails where moss muffled steps, my prosthetic navigating routes like a dance. Evenings, skinny dipping in chill streams, his laughter echoing as we dried by firelight. Sex deepened, exploratory, affirming. He knelt once, lips brushing the socket's edge. This is you, he said, reverent. Tears fell. I pulled him up, bodies merging in wordless thanks. Yet conflict simmered. Back in Seattle, Matthew's final strike. A letter slipped under my door. I know about Daniel, but he can't love you like I did flawlessly. Enclosed, a photo, us pre-accident, beach-kissed, perfect. Rage propelled me to his office, Amazon tower gleaming like hubris. Security buzzed me up. He met me in the lobby, smug. Come to beg. No, I said, voice steel. To end it, I handed back the photo, torn. You never loved me. You loved a version. Daniel loves the man, the fighter, the mess. His face cracked, but I turned, blade clicking triumph to the elevator. Telling Daniel that night, over rooftop beers as sound fairies ghosted by, felt like shedding skin. He listened, then pulled me close. Proud of you. Fireworks popped distant. July 4th echoes. And in that burst, I saw it, wholeness not in perfection, but persistence. Autumn winds stripped leaves, mirroring molts. My career surged, a book deal for queer graphic memoirs, panels at Elliott Bay Books. Daniel's tenure track solidified, our lives intertwining like ivy. But the real test came in November, gray skies pressing low. Daniel's diagnosis dropped like Seattle's autumn gales. Prostate cancer, caught early but insidious. We sat in the oncologist's office. Dr. Patel's voice clinical over fluorescent hum. Aggressive, but treatable. Radiation. Maybe chemo. Daniel nodded, hand vice-tight on mine, his color drained. Outside, rain lashed Virginia Mason's windows. I wanted to scream at the sky, bargain with gods I'd long dismissed. Home. He paced the kitchen, Orwell twining ankles. Fuck, he muttered, fists clenched. Just when I pulled him down, foreheads touching. Hey, we're in this, but fear coiled echoes of Elias, his vigil bed stories. Was I strong enough, or would this break us? My brokenness a prelude to his? Treatments started swift. Daily zaps at Swedish, fatigue shadowing his eyes. I adapted, smoothies blended with protein, rides to appointments, my blade a steadfast companion. Nights, he'd curl into me, vulnerability raw. What if I'm not me anymore? He'd whisper, chemo's metallic tang on his breath. I trace his curls, now thinning. You're always you. Warrior poet. Matthew faded to irrelevance, but old wounds festered in stress. One fight erupted post-scan, results middling, hope a tightrope. Daniel snapped over my hovering, accusing smother. I don't need a nurse. Alex, hurt lashed back. And I didn't need a deserter. Silence stretched. Brutal. He apologized first. Chemo tears tracking. Scared shitless. Forgive, I did, holding him as sobs racked. Love's forge, tempering us. Group became lifeline. Stories of illness, loss, resilience. Jamie organized a benefit queer artists auctioning work. Proceeds to Daniel's care. The night swelled Capitol Hill's Vera Project. Drag performances. My murals projected huge. Daniel emceeing with wry humor despite the wig hiding bare scalp. To the fighters, he toasted. Glass raised. Eyes locking mine. Pride swelled. Fierce. Winter gripped. Holidays hushed. We skipped fanfare for quiet. Tree trimmed with Elias's ornaments. Roses tamales steaming. New Year's. Bundled on the balcony. We clinked mugs of spiked cider. Resolutions? He asked, breath fogging. More of this, I said, gesturing us. Less fear. Spring brought remission whispers, scans clean, energy creeping back. But joy tempered caution. Checkups loomed eternal. We hiked Discovery Park. Wildflowers nodding, his hand steady in mine. You saved me, he said once, pausing at a bluff. Sound azure below. No, I countered. We saved each other, yet climax brewed in summer's heat. Matthew resurfaced, not vengeful, but broken. A call at midnight. Alex. This is bad. Layoffs. Depression. I get it now, the pain. Pity stirred, but resolve held. Get help, Matt. For you. Click. Closure. Bittersweet. Daniel proposed in July. Ho rain forest redux. Picnic amid ferns. Ring simple silver. Engraved against the dying light. Marry me? He asked. Knees damp. Eyes alight. Tears blurred. Yes tumbled out. Wedding planning infused fall small. Queer affair at a Vashon Island farm. Rain a blessing. But fate twisted prevows. A routine check revealed recurrence, metastatic, liver shadows. Devastation crashed. Daniel stoic, me shattering in bathrooms. Fight it, I begged, but his smile waned. We will. But talk endgame. Hospice discussions gutted. But we faced them, love's brutal honesty. The ceremony unfolded October 12th. Island mist-shrouded. Friends in rainbow finery. Vows exchanged under oaks. In brokenness. I found you, I said, voice cracking. In you. Wholeness. Rings slid. Kisses sealed, defiant joy amid dread. Winter waned slow, treatments ravaged, but moments gleamed. Bedside readings, Whitman, our voices duet. Orwell curled at his feet, purring sentinel. One night, pain eased. He pulled me close. No regrets, he murmured, fingers weak in mine. You showed me love's not flawless. It's fierce. Dawn broke February 14th. Valentine's. Ironic twist. His breath stuttered. Eased. I held him, whispering sonnets, as light gilded the room. He slipped quiet, hands slack but warm. Grief tsunamied, but in the hollow, gratitude bloomed. He'd mended me, piece by irreplaceable piece. Spring unfurled without him, crocuses defiant. I scattered ashes at Alki, waves claiming, friends toasting his fire. Group continued. I shared, voice steadying. He rejected my broken body, I'd say of Matthew, but Daniel. He showed me love means embracing the fractures. Wholeness isn't absence of pain, it's dancing through it. Years folded. My book hit shelves. Tours to queer festivals coast to coast. A new sketchpad. Pages filled with us, portraits of Daniel. Laughing eternal. Dates flickered. Coffee with a barista. Sparks tentative but no rush. Love's lesson. It's not possession, but presence. One eve. Rooftop like that rain-lashed night years back. I stood alone. City pulsing below. No tears now, resolve. The blade clicked soft. A rhythm of survival. Daniel's voice echoed. Twice the fighter. I smiled at stars piercing clouds. Yeah. And ready for whatever light came next. In the quiet aftermath. Seattle felt both anchor and ache. A city of reinventions, where coffee shops birthed revolutions and ferries ferried ghosts across inlets. I threw myself into work. The memoir Fractured Frames becoming a quiet hit among queer presses. His pages raw with sketches of Daniel's hands. Matthew's shadow. My own scarred silhouette against the needle's glow. Readings packed indie spots like Elliott Bay. Audiences leaning in, tattooed twinks. Silver-haired survivors nodding at lines like, love isn't a straight line. It's a blade cutting through bullshit to bone. Jamie became family default. Crashing my couch with bad rom-coms and better weed. You're glowing again. Bitch, he'd say. Passing the joint. Eyes twinkling over the haze. Glowing. Maybe. Or just less eclipsed. Dates trickled. A architect with a poet's soul. Ghosting after my honesty about loss. A musician whose laugh echoed Daniel's, but whose touch fell flat. No fault, their own orbits. Mine still traced his. Summer solstice brought the rooftop party. A chosen family blowout on Rose's deck in Ravenna. Lanterns swayed. Grill smoke curling with laughter. Queer elders swapping 80s bathhouse tales while newbies blushed. I arrived late, prosthetic humming from a day hike in the Cascades, solitude's therapy, peaks piercing skies like unanswered prayers. Rosa pulled me into a bear hug, her scar-rough hand on my cheek. Mijo, you look fierce. Dinner was feast. Empanadas, grilled corn charred sweet. Daniel's favorite risotto revived in my clumsy hands. As dusk bled purple, someone handed me a mic, open jam, impromptu toasts. Heart hammered, but stories demanded voice. To Daniel, I started, words steady amid clinks. He didn't fix me. He showed me I wasn't broken, just bent toward light. Murmurs swelled, hugs followed. Then, across the crowd, eyes met mine, warm, familiar, uncharted. His name was Theo, mid-40s, a therapist specializing in queer trauma, with salt and pepper stubble and a voice like aged bourbon. We'd brushed at Group Ian's back, but tonight, under stars pricking velvet, he approached. Your words. They landed. Conversation flowed easy. His practice in Fremont, helping twinks unpack conversion scars. My designs for therapy apps, pixels as protest. Laughter bridged gaps. His hand brushing mine over shared plates. No hesitation, just heat. Walked me home later, streets silvered by moon on puddles. At my door, pause electric. Coffee? He asked, grin crooked. Or more, bold, American Seattle direct. Pulled him in, door clicking shut on solitude. His kiss was storm, hungry, honoring edges. Clothes shed in hall, stumbling to bed. His fingers explored without maps, tracing sockets curve like sacred text. Beautiful, he breathed, no qualifiers. We moved deliberate, body's dialogue, mine yielding, his yielding back. After tangled sheets, his head on my chest, this feels right, not love, not yet, but possibility, a seed in fertile soil. Mornings blurred. His coffee runs syncing my alarm. Sketches evolving with his muse, a portrait of Theo. Eyes crinkled mid-laugh, blades shadow soft. Conflicts arose, gentle. His ex's lingering calls. My anniversaries of loss triggering walls. I'm scared, I admitted once. Post-fight over cancelled plans, echoes of Matthew. Theo cupped my face. Steady. Scared's okay. Is human. We navigate. Fall deepened. Leaves a carpet to his apartment in Wallingford. Cozy chaos of books. Plants thriving under grow lights. We cooked disasters. Laughing over scorched paella. Hiked Rattlesnake Ledge. His pack heavy with water. Mine light with trust. Sex layered, playful mornings. Tender eves. Always affirming. You're whole to me, he'd murmur. Lips on scars. Dismantling doubts. Winter solstice. We drove to Leavenworth for lights. Bavarian village aglow. Glühwein steaming. Amid carolers and snow-dusted pines, he knelt in the square, ring twinkling like captured star. Alex, you've danced through my storms. Marry me, flashback blurred. Daniel's proposal. Rainforest mist. But this was now. Theo's eyes. Hopeful. His hand steady. Yes. Fierce and free. Wedding was spring equinox. Beach at Golden Gardens. Waves crashing chorus. Friends in wildflowers. Vows vowed growth. In your light, I find mine. Rings exchanged. Salt kissed. Honeymoon road tripped Route 101. Cabins and cliffs. bodies and souls sinking. Years stacked like good whiskey. Theo's practice boomed, co-authoring a book on queer resilience. My studio thrived. Murals on community centers. Tales of triumph in ink. Daniel's legacy lived. Scholarship in his name for queer artists. Funded by royalties. Matthew, a footnote. Heard he'd moved to SF. Sober. Single. No bridges burned. Just lessons learned. One eve. Years on. Rooftop redux now ours. City sprawling benevolent. Theo beside. Arm round waist. Blade clicking soft to his hip sway. Fireworks cracked for some distant fest. Bursts painting us gold. Whole? He whispered. Nuzzling. I grinned. Turning. Always was. Just needed eyes to see. In America's sprawl. From Seattle's drizzled dreams to endless horizons. Love proved not conquest, but communion. Broken bodies mended not by erasure, but embrace. And in that truth, we all danced on fierce, flawed, forever forward.